It's an honor and pleasure to be here at this church. It has a long tradition, long history. It has a personal history in my life. I'm a formerly incarcerated person, and half of my life has been in and out of prisons. That has changed today. I'm a different person. I want to tell you a little story. Just before coming here, I was going down the 91 freeway with my mother, my girlfriend, and kind of deranged man just running the streets on the freeway, and no one would stop. And I thought it was an accident up ahead. So I jumped out of the car. I said, well, hey, if you stop on the freeway, it's dangerous. So I kind of pulled over to the side and I ran out in the middle of the freeway, tried to help this guy who just kind of deranged, running around between cars and cars. Just so happened to be an ambulance pulling up with his lights flaring, with emergency service lights on. I thought they were called to the incident, which they weren't. They just so happened to be passing by. By the time I got to the guy, another gentleman stepped out the car, he was an officer. He had a badge and a shield on and a gun. And he approached the guy first, and they were kind of tussling and struggling, and it looked like the situation might get out of hand. And some of us know from history and through the recent events that these things go bad when an officer comes in confrontation with a mentally challenged person or somebody who's high on drugs. And their first response is to deal with things like they deal with custody or restraining that person by use of force. So I was glad to be there, and I got to the guy. By the time the guy grabbed his arm and put it behind his back and took him down to the ground. But a struggle might have ensued, but I was there and able to help him out, try to calm the guy down, just to be careful, be calm. By that time, another pedestrian came out the car and responded to the situation. We were able to get the guy in handcuffs and calm him down. The guy said he had a seizure. Obviously, he was delusional for whatever reason it was. But the situation might have progressed to be worse. But just so happened, things were there at the right time, the continuity, the ambulance, and somebody, law enforcement there. And soon enough, by people calling 911, officers started responding. But I was just so happy to be there at that point in time. I can't really tell you that much about Office Anonymous because I don't really have that much time. But like I said, it's an organization of formerly incarcerated people to help give back to the community, to raise awareness to prisoners' issues, community issues, of course, people of color, all people of economically disadvantaged. And it's a good organization. And I came about this organization through this church. I was told by my mother, you get this intuition, your mother tell you, your son, you should go to church. We always talk about this when we were incarcerated with a lot of other guys. If I would listen to my wife that night, or if I listen to my girlfriend, I would listen to my mother told me to do this, to do that, I'm gonna be here. So my mother told me to go to church one day. And I tried to go to church over in Corona, but the service was already over. And I looked up on the internet and it said the Unitarian Church. I always heard about the Unitarian Church, how they encompass all kinds of people, different faith and religion. So I drove down here in the services. I just caught the service in the middle of it. And I enjoyed the service. I was welcome in. I came in and sat in this building right here. And after the service was over, I was actually getting ready to go home. And I walked outside and they were having a fundraiser. It was a barbecue. I said, well, we don't have too many barbecues around here. Black folks have a barbecue. And that's what Riverside barbecue. And I ran into Henderson Unitarian for the Straight Talk program, and she told me that she's at a fundraiser. And I asked her what the fundraiser about. She said, Straight Talk, formerly incarcerated people that speak out to schools and communities. I said, whoa, this is something I like to do. I always wanted to do that as well. I had a thing that I was going to do. And that's how I met Henderson Unitarian, and that's how I got Mr. Bonnie Quarles and Charles, and all of this Anonymous program that has a meeting. They meet right here in the next room. And like I said, the Unitarian Church has a long history. And as I researched the books that I was reading, over 100 years, the Unitarian Church goes back to the foundation of the Quakers. And the Quakers had the foundation of the Underground Railroad of slavery abolitionists. And I realized that, and I found out people that I started reading great books and famous artists, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, they were Unitarians. And I didn't even know this until I started reading these people. And I started reading their philosophy of thought, and I'm like, man, I was just inspired and encouraged. I was reading Ralph Waldo Emerson's Self-Reliance, they said. Henry David Thoreau, Walter Pond, Civil Disobedience. Called John Brown, people that I admire. John Brown was a white abolitionist, they put his life on the line, his son's life, to in slavery. And when I started reading these encouraging things in prison, it started to have me change my life. And there's a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson that states that treat a man as he always been treated, and he shall be as he is. Treat a man as he could and should be, and he will become that. Yes. And I learned that, and I tried to internalize those words. And I read this found quote in a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And had a quote in this book that says, 2 men in a prison cell looking out the window bars. One only saw the mud, the other looking up seeking the stars. And from that quote, it just kept propelling me in my head. And I wrote a piece about it. And I named it Janus. And for those who don't know what Janus is a mythological Roman god of 2 faces, opposing faces. And when I looked that up, it's the gate, God of all openings and gates and new beginnings. And the piece goes something like this. Cry for all the mysteries and experiences missed. Achievements lost. Opportunities and achievements lost in the foggy mist. Time swept away, incarcerated like in a capsule ship. Time swept away, incarcerated like in a capsule ship. Fading hopes and dreams, falling like the ends and season of death. Many storms raging through our lives, like the mighty winds blow across the sandy seas through the lonely desert of mind. But just as the seasons change, in good wine towards the time, things do change, old things do change. But just as the sun rises, a new day will dawn. Spring comes around, and good time until the time. And good wine until the time. And like I said, things do change. Old things do change. But as the sun rises, a new day will dawn. You know, that's what I was going to say.